Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are going to crack a really tough nut, how to memorize a bunch of complex laws. Now, instead of just reading a list, we're going to build a story around them. It's the story of a corrupt public servant, and trust me, it's going to help you lock every single one of these sections into your memory in perfect order.
You know how it is, right? Trying to memorize legal sections can feel like you're just memorizing a random string of numbers. Section 198, 199, 200, they can seem totally random. But what if there was a better way? What if there was a story that connected all the dots, making them almost impossible to forget?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to follow the downward spiral of one corrupt public servant. By linking each specific law to a step he takes in his story, we're creating this really powerful memory tool. It's going to connect each section one after the other like a chain. So, our story plays out in 4 parts. First, we'll see the officer's first crime. Then, we'll watch the desperate cover-up. After that, we'll figure out why he did it. We'll follow the money. And finally, we'll look at a different kind of problem, the fakes and frauds. Okay, let's dive right in. Every story of corruption has a beginning, a single bad decision that starts the whole mess. And for our public servant, it all starts right here. Our story kicks off with Section 198. Think of this as the first domino to fall. It's the core of the problem, really. You have a public servant who knows the law, knows the rules, but deliberately chooses to break them. And he does it knowing full well it's going to hurt someone. So picture this. Our officer gets a court order. He's legally required to seize some property. But his friend is involved, so to protect his buddy, he just ignores the order. He knows that by doing this, the person who's supposed to get the property is going to suffer a financial loss. That single act, right there, is a violation of Section 198. And that's what starts this whole chain reaction. Of course, one lie always leads to another, doesn't it? People start asking questions, and an investigation kicks off. Now, to cover his tracks, our officer has to break even more rules. And this time, it's about the investigation itself. This brings us right to Section 199. And this is where things get really messy. To shut down a witness who knows about his first crime, he might illegally summon them to the station, which he's not allowed to do in certain situations. Or let's say that witness tries to file a formal complaint, an FIR, about what's going on. He just refuses to record it. Both of those are classic violations of Section 199. All right, on to the next chapter of our little drama. Let's see how the consequences just spiral outwards. A cover-up is never a clean thing. It just creates more victims in this tangled, sticky web of lies. You can almost see it happening in slow motion, can't you? His initial crime back in Section 188 created the first victim. Now, trying to silence people creates even more victims. And to hide all of this, he has to take the biggest step yet. He's got to start faking official records. So let's add another layer. Imagine the person our officer wronged also got physically hurt in all of this. They go to a hospital looking for help. But our corrupt officer, he gets on the phone. He pressures the person in charge at the hospital to refuse treatment. By caving to that pressure, the hospital in charge has now committed a brand new crime under Section 200. See how this corruption is spreading?
And now, for the grand finale of the cover-up, our officer has to write the official report. He sits down and deliberately cooks the books. He changes facts, he leaves out details, anything to make himself look innocent and the victim look guilty. This act of knowingly creating a false document to hurt someone, that's a direct hit on Section 201.
So we've seen the crime and we've seen the cover-up, but that just leaves one really big question, doesn't it? Why? Why would a public servant risk everything, his job, his freedom, for all of this?
What was so important that it made him commit this whole string of crimes, each one worse than the last? Well, the answer, as it so often is, comes down to good old-fashioned personal gain.
And here's the reveal. This slide uncovers his secret life. Under Section 202, we find out he's been illegally running a side business, something public servants are absolutely forbidden from doing. But that's not all. Under Section 203, he's been using his official position to illegally bid on and buy property that's been confiscated. This is his motive. It's greed.
Okay, so our story takes a really interesting little twist here. We've been focused on a real public servant who's abusing his power. But there's a whole other side to this problem. People who aren't public servants at all, but just pretend to be.
So while our corrupt officer is busy with his own crimes, someone else is watching. They see the power that his uniform and his title have. And this person thinks, hey, I don't need to be a real public servant to get those perks. I just need to fake it.
And the law is actually pretty smart about this. It makes a clear distinction. Under Section 204, you have the more serious kind of fraud. Someone who not only pretends to hold an office, but actually tries to do official things. But then there's Section 205, which is a bit simpler. That's for someone who just puts on the uniform or carries some kind of official token with the intent to deceive someone, maybe to intimidate them or get access to a place they shouldn't be. Two different kinds of fake.
So let's tie this all together. Here it is, your memory map. The story starts with Section 198. The officer disobeys an order. That forces him to abuse an investigation in 199. That abuse leads to a victim being denied treatment under 200, which he then has to cover up by faking documents in 201. Why'd he do it? Well, that's the illegal trade in 202 and the illegal property deals in 203. And while all that's going on, you have imposters either personating his office under 204 or just wearing the uniform under 205. See, each step just flows right into the next.
This story is a really powerful way to remember the letter of the law. But it leaves us with a much, much bigger question. Knowing these rules exist is one thing, but what does real accountability actually look like? How do we make sure these rules are more than just words in a legal textbook? That is definitely something to think about.